Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be looking at GIS planning product updates, new features, and of course, we'll have time for a question and answer. My name is Elisa Sklar. I'm the VP of Marketing here at GIS Planning, and I am delighted to be here with two of my colleagues, Jeff Sunnison, the Director of Client Services, and Chris Gillis, who many of you also know from the GIS Planning support team. Hello, Jeff and Chris.
Good afternoon.
So, before I hand this over to Chris to start off with some of the things, I just want to give you kind of an overview of some of the things we're going to be talking about today. We are really excited at the, all the new things that we've been able to offer. We pride ourselves on our research and development team, and we've kept up a really blistering pace of innovations, new features, upgrades, updated functionality, and different ways that we can provide you with tools that you can then offer your website visitors and prospective investors, site selectors, existing businesses, and other community stakeholders. So some of the things we're going to be talking about are the new drive time data for driving, for trucks, for walk score by date, location, all those different kinds of things. Spent a couple minutes talking about website compliance guidelines and some of the ways that we're working to make sure that our clients can claim that, can offer that to their website visitors. We're going to show you how you can create a proposal with a single click, how you can custom draw property boundaries, which is really useful for many things, including parcels. We'll talk about how you can show ESRI and ArcGIS map layers, how you can identify a function on the map layers as well. We'll spend a couple minutes showing you ZoomTour, for those of you who haven't seen it, our virtual tour building software. And we're going to talk at the end just a few best practices that we have put together for embedding ZoomProspector, but also taking advantage of it as fantastic content across your website. So that gives you kind of an overview of some of the things that we're going to do here. And with that, I am going to pass this over to Chris, who is going to get us started looking at drive time data. So we can see your screen, Chris, but we cannot hear you. You might be muted.
Yes, you need to unmute when you're talking. I understand. Great. So we've always had a drive time function, and it was one single function. It was just distance from this. But now we're using a different service to get three different options here: car, truck, and walking. And this applies to properties and the pinpoints tool there, also around communities as well. Here I have a site, and this is the drive time, 15 minutes within that. So you'll be looking at a report wherever you see the miles, just switch to minutes. If I click on the little truck here, this is going to recalculate on the fly what that distance is there. With a truck, you can't or shouldn't go as fast. So it shows that here. And then if we're walking, this is obviously going to show me a lot less there. So it's really handy to get an idea of essentially intermodal sort of logistic stuff. You have that truck option to show how close things are. It seems to make a little bit nicer and more accurate polygons than our previous service there. So that's the new drive time function. Again, with a pinpoint or any report where you see it here in the minutes option, switch over to that. Some other advanced things, let's say you want to figure out on a specific day for a client, maybe they're really looking like Black Friday sort of thing. What does traffic look like in that? Well, you can put that information in there about that specific date and time and get that information there. So this is using historical data. You're probably familiar with this, just like Google does it. It works the same as well. So that's the new drive time function there. And with that, I will let it go back over to Elisa there. She is going to talk about our new WAC guidelines here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So let's see, make sure, there we go. You should be able to see my screen. So one of the things that we're really excited about is our initiative to meet web content accessibility guidelines. Some of you will know that as WCAG. And basically the idea here is that we want to make the tools for ZoomProspector as accessible to as many of your website visitors as possible, despite any disability or ability levels that they might have. And so that's something that we're hearing from our clients, especially those of you who represent government, it is now becoming something that is required or absolutely critical for any web tools or web services that you're offering. So an example of how we're doing that is something that we launched very recently, which is the ability to display heat maps not only in colors, but also in patterns, as you should be able to see here on your screen. I'm just loading it up here for the state of Oregon. And you'll see what that allows us to do is make sure that the heat maps are visible and clear and coherent for people with different kinds of color blindness. And to do that, our product designer went out and researched the different kinds of things that they might be able to see. So the color palette will be different. The patterns are important because there are people out there who can only see black and white. So putting the patterns in there as well is another way that we're helping to ensure that. We will be making an announcement very shortly for the rest of our web content accessibility guideline that we have achieved. And we'll be able to promote that. But this is just another way that we can show you how this is something that you can claim and offer as a service. This is automatically in place for anyone who is using ZoomProspector right now. So I think I'm going to pass this back over to you, Chris. I believe you are going to take the reins back again.
Okay, great. Let me make sure I've got the right window. Perfect here. One other thing we've done, this is kind of really seems minor and small, but everyone loves properties or hates properties, depending on the time of day we're talking about here. Having a good photo for a property can be hard, sometimes even having a photo. One thing we've done is made a feature where if you don't have a photo for a property, we're going to try to find out the Google Street View for that location. So here I'm looking at Flagler County in Florida. It's kind of hard to figure out which ones are not the photos here from Google Street View. They've mostly all got photos, but there is one down here that I was seeing. This one here didn't have this vacant land, didn't have a photo. So our system now automatically goes out to Google's Street View service and tries to figure out what the best view for that is there. It works most all the time. If you have a very remote property that's far, far away from the Street View, it may still need a photo manually uploaded there. But at minimum, you can often get away with not having a photo for a property, and we'll do that automatically for you. Simple as that. So that's one right there. Another one is in our proposal system. So you want to present a bunch of properties to clients. You can use the save function here to save them in your saved results. When you're looking at that saved results, again, that's going to be up in the upper right. You'll click on it. You'll get a screen that looks like this. You'll see those properties that you have saved. This can be by folder, so you can create multiple folders here. This export to proposal button, this is been around for just a little bit, but most people don't know about it. When you're logged in as an admin, you click on this, this will start the process to create a proposal there. From there, you'll get something that looks like this. I've added a couple pages to this one here, just as an example of what it can look like. But it loads up the properties automatically, tells me what my photo was that I was looking, or my folder name was. You can change all this, add in your contact information here. But you're ready to go, sharing a URL with a client there and talking about them moving into specific properties. Again, I can put in other pages into this here. One of the new features we've done when you're logged in, there's an option here to click to edit this because I'm logged in as an admin, as an owner of this proposal. Your client won't see this. One thing they will see, and this is brand new, it's not even out of the box yet, so you won't see it in your proposals for a little bit, but there is a filter by county option. So if you're in a big regional geography, states, any of you flying in from states for the webinar here, this is going to apply to you here. So I will be able to choose which counties I want to see and narrow things down. So that's one new thing that's, gosh, it should be today, tomorrow, this week, definitely that's coming. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's my bit there.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to do now, Jeff, is I'm going to hand this over to you,
Okay.
and you can show us some of the things about property lines and map functions.
Absolutely. So, Elisa, can you see my screen up here?
Yep, we sure can.
Excellent. So yeah, so a couple of different things. One of the features is relatively new, which is going to be the site boundary, and then we just want to kind of reinforce some of the abilities you have of bringing in your own map layers into the site. So the first one is the custom site boundary. So a lot of times you either don't have parcel data, or maybe the property doesn't necessarily represent the parcel outline. So now you have the ability to come into an area and define that on the map. So I have this property selected here, and it's not always clear, what is the designated area of that property. So now what I can do is I can go over into the admin. I'll find that listing here. And you can do this as you're adding the property, or you can do it after the fact and go back in like I'm doing now. So now you'll see this final option here, site boundary. I'll go ahead and click on site boundary. It'll load up that location. I would recommend maybe turning on the satellite image just to give you a better perspective. And then what you can do from here is you can either upload a KML file. So if you already have a boundary for that, you could upload it. Or you could simply come in here and draw your own boundary. You'll see this polygon tool right here. I'll go ahead and select that. And now I can come in here and I can define the area that I want to include here. So maybe it's this area that the property represents. I'll go ahead and save that boundary. And as you can see, if you need to adjust that or delete it, you can always do that as well. Now, if I go back to that property here and I refresh the page, what you'll see here is it'll have that outline on it. So it's yet another way to better define the area. And so that will be associated with that listing whenever it's added or selected in here.
And this, one thing, Jeff, here, this doesn't have to be a cadastral accurate survey. You could show a certain portion or even zoom in on a building to kind of get an idea of where that space might be. So it's very flexible.
Absolutely, and actually you can even draw, you could have multiple polygons in there. If I hadn't collapsed that one, you could draw that. So there's a lot of different options in there. Now I want to speak a little bit more to the overall mapping functionality here. We've always had this in here, the ability to provide your own GIS layers. Just to clarify the different types that you can provide, you can provide an ESRI ArcGIS server service. That's where the data is managed on your end by your team, and they just simply give us the service, and then we tap into that. The beauty there is anytime your team makes an adjustment to the data, that would be reflected on our end because we're pulling that data dynamically in. The other thing you could do is you could provide the data to us as a shapefile or a geodatabase, and we can host that on our end. So that gives you the ability to give that data to us if you don't have the capability or you do have to have a certain level of team expertise to have ArcGIS server running on your end. And then finally, we can even do like KML files. If you have a KML file that you wanted to bring in, that's absolutely something we could take into account as well. So we really pretty much can handle any type of data that you would be mapping into the system. Just to show an example, so this example here is going to be showing data that was given to us as a shapefile. So I'm going to come into this client here, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they have things like bike trails, and let me just zoom in here a little bit. And they have bus routes, elementary school districts, more sophisticated layers like parcels. So I can zoom in here and I can see all those parcel lines. And they draw really fast. So one of the things that happens when we host the data, we can make it really peppy. One thing, if we are connecting to an ArcGIS server, if there are some limitations on bandwidth on that side, we can't necessarily guarantee it, but when we're hosting it on our end, we can definitely make it look good and fast. And just turn on a couple more here. So, here's the zoning that we have in here.
Jeff, can I just jump in because these maps are so beautiful when you display the layers. And just a reminder that if you want to export that map on the map tools on the bottom, just click on export on the far right and you can export that as a PDF, as an image, or a link to the map. These are great for newsletters, for social media feeds, for PowerPoint decks, for proposals, all different kinds of things. They're just really beautiful visuals.
Absolutely. And really important with that link is any map you're building in here, if I were to send that link, it's going to take users back to that exact same layer that I have turned on or set of layers. So you could see that and they can see what you've created there. And then finally, we wanted to highlight the fact that the data is interactive. So I'm going to show some layers that clients provided as an ArcGIS server service. that we then were able to not only display on the map, but have it show information. So here in Alpharetta, we're just going to click on their schools here. And you can see now when I click on that, and this is all coming from that service, it shows the name, the type of school, and then there's a URL to the school. So again, this data is all interactive, and then anytime it's updated on the client's end, it would be brought in here. They have other ArcGIS servers layers that they provided. So, if I came in here, I wanted to look at zoning, it'll load the zoning in. I can click on that, and that'll pull up the zoning. We are limited to what data is behind it. So when you publish that data out to us, we only can show the attributes that are included in there. And I'll show a couple more here. Now we have our client over here in Miami-Dade, Beacon Council. Here's one where they have the charter schools that's published out to us. I can click on that. Again, it's going to show me all that information about the school. If I want to turn on a more, a larger area, like maybe the zoning, we'll let that load up here. And when the zoning comes on, again, I can click on any of these districts here and pull up that information. I'm not stuck trying to look over here at the legend, and the legend won't always give you all that additional data. Then the final couple I wanted to show here, we're looking at parcel data. So if I turn on these parcels here, this client has them listed as parcel lines. And we'll come in, and if I click on these, again, it's going to show me whatever data they're publishing there. So they have the property ID, property type, and the land use associated with it. And then the final one I'll show over here is Tioga here, and we'll show their parcels. Again, very similar. Let that load up here for a second. And then if I identify on these, and actually one of the things is that identify will run even if you're not zoomed into the area where the layer is turned on. Some of the layers are rendering at certain levels. So now if I click on this, I can pull up this information and see it that way. So really what we want to hit home is really we don't have any limitations. We provide our own map layers for you, but if you have anything on your end that you want to provide, we can pretty much take it in any format. We can make it as interactive as it needs to be. That way, you want to make sure you're providing as much information to your end user as possible.
And Jeff, all of these things that you're talking about here are so important when it comes to telling the story of your location and communicating your value proposition to potential investors and site selectors. So we're really trying to embrace this visual storytelling ability and capacity for ZoomProspector. So we really invite you to submit that kind of data if you have it available to you.
Absolutely.
Great.
That's it for me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to pass this over to you now, Chris. Just a reminder to everyone that as we're showing you these different things, if you have questions about how this might work for you or questions about the different features and functionality that we're showing you, please put that in the questions field in the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen, and we'll be happy to, you've got our full attention here. We're happy to answer that. Of course, you'll have an email from us following up with a link to the video, and if you prefer to ask your questions individually to us, that's certainly possible as well. Chris, over to you. Take us for a quick look at ZoomTour, which is one of the most exciting new things that we were able to introduce this past year. And you may be
unmute. I got it. I'm learning. Yeah, so ZoomTour is still pretty darn fresh. Most of you have probably seen a little or heard a little bit about it, but really what it is, it allows you to build a tour about pretty much anything. Is there a place that people can go, or should see? Maybe it's something they're going to see when they come in a site visit, or if there's a pandemic going on, maybe it's something they can't, but you can use something like ZoomTour to guide them through. This is one of our tours from South Carolina, NISA, the organization there. They're incorporating some drone sphere imagery here, but it really has some simple things like photos and videos as well here, so you can link into YouTube. Obviously, the map plays a role here. We are using Google's tools to make it simple to display on the map and also Street View. We're also able to include, for you guys that are using ZoomProspector, which is most everyone, some of that data in a little window here so people can explore that data while on the tour. Alternatively, this can display a website as well. Here's an example of using Street View in case you don't have a great photo or drone sphere of anything. You can keep it really simple. Again, can I make a tour of something that people should visit, or I want to have them visit when they do come in the future? ZoomTour allows that. It does not have to be exciting, or it can be something like your industry sectors. For the people that are looking at that, can be extremely exciting. This is one in Yuma, Arizona, and they've got their food processing in there. So a huge amount of egg. If you're eating something green and leafy in the winter, it very well could have come from this part of the country here. But what they've got here is just stepping through a showcase of who's here. They're using Street View to show the facilities here, the map view of where in the world it's at, and then they're using the website element here to show the website for that. So they got 12 stops on this tour. So each of your industry sectors with ZoomTour could get its own tour. Things like a quality of life, recreation, just places to go, see, those sort of things. All this can be accomplished with ZoomTour. It is based off a URL, and you're going to share this in social media, newsletters, all sorts of marketing there. You can also embed that on your website. A client of ours in Abbotsford, British Columbia, is using them to show several tours they've made about their filming industries here. What this does is this gives the potential client the ability to come in and visit and see what this place looks like without even having to leave their home. So here they're showing, how amazingly cute and quaint their main street is. They're going to step through this. They've shown some of the productions that have been filmed here. They're kind of calling this their own little Hollywood here. And then where they do have it, they do have the option to have the website for the business that's in there, so in case there's some different pictures to be looked at there. But scads of ways to do this. Filming is just one of them there. But again, it's about sharing via URL in whatever way you want to there. It adds a lot of flexibility. And for you with ZoomTour or with ZoomProspector, there is a discount on ZoomTour pricing.
Just a quick note about ZoomTour. One of the things that I'm seeing, and I know you're going to show some different examples, is that really the content comes from you. And so as a result, there's no limits to what the tours can be about. And you can, of course, produce as many different kinds of tours as you want, use them in different ways, instead of a PowerPoint deck and a virtual online presentation on your website, in a proposal, in social media, on an email newsletter. There's just so many exciting ways to take advantage of it. And I love this one that you're showing from Yuma, Arizona.
Yeah, and it's really the only requirement is you have to put it somewhere on the map, which generally is pretty easy. Even if you're looking at a single building or like a university campus, even like if you were running a cemetery district, this could be sort of a graves tour of historical graves. There's, again, what do you want to show? It's simple as that. Or even if you have people coming to visit on the regular, you could give them sort of a lunch tour, give them options for lunch and something to do, or, if they're having 2 days with you, give them, show them the best of town here. It doesn't necessarily have to be, growers, producers, industry sectors. It can be some fun stuff too. So that's ZoomTour.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Chris. We have clients working on workforce attraction tours, university campus tours, all kinds of things, a walk down your main street, a historic district, a tour of the bike paths and parks and recreation in the area. There's really just so many different ways that it can be used, and they're super easy to produce and edit. The first time I did one, it probably took me about 45 minutes to finish. From then, you could probably do one in about 30 minutes. Depends, of course, how many stops you want to put on the tour. We do have a best practices guide, as well as other support resources for ZoomTour. That's pretty much, something that you can put together. You don't need to have any graphic design or marketing experience. We suggest ways to make sure that people are able to, contact you or visit the website or click more for more information in order to achieve whatever marketing objective you have for that tour. Thank you for showing that. Yes, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And I guess that takes us to our last point in today's webinar, which is looking at best practices for embedding, unless you had more that you wanted to show for ZoomTour.
No, let's get on to the good stuff with the more best practices. So this applies to everyone on the call here. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so we have some help here, and I've been working through ways to get more out of your ZoomProspector on your website. Our help section has a couple new articles here. I just, as a preference, want to say I am happy to jump on a call. Elisa is to do a quick audit on the how you're implementing your ZoomTour or your ZoomProspector, excuse me, and your intelligence components here. One of the big ones we're finding is embedding that ZoomProspector correctly. Most of you have got it nailed down, but if you do have any questions, we are here and we do have a help article on this. This is in our help center. So when you're log into the admin, click on help, you'll get that front page here, and it will be in the ZoomProspector portion or the intelligence components portion. And then this is a quick guide of, are you doing it right? It's really designed for your web designer here. But again, I'm here to help. But overall, it's saying, hey, if you can embed this full width and full height, that's ideal. If you can't, to give you a couple other options, things to check with, then there is also some ways with the intelligence components there, just to give an overview of those. Elisa and I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Elisa, most all of you can get more out of your intelligence components by using them multiple times. Oftentimes there's one community and you put the community profile in there, but maybe there's a county or multiple cities you could do. Same with the demographics and the business one, especially with the industry clusters here. And in fact, we have some help pages here about creating and embedding those community profiles. These, again, are something that will help your web designer. This is a short video on how to do it. Instead of like, no one wants to read and hey, I want to watch a short video. Well, great. I have something that's 2 minutes and 40 seconds here. This is actually on the long side, but I go through where it could be and how to set it for different geographies. Another option as well is we just talked about map data and how we can make connections to your ESRI or ArcGIS data automatically. Well, you can display those in a mapping widget on your specific web page. And some of our clients do this for, say, opportunity zones. They'll talk about opportunity zones and what that means in terms of incentives and taxation. We'll show those on a map. Your ZoomProspector mapping intelligence component can do that. This video, I'm getting down to 2 minutes here. Everyone can spare the time to see that. Shows you how that's possible. And a final one is those industry clusters. This is so important. Like, what are people doing in the region? Like, sure, they're doing businessy things, but tell me and show me. How this works is you're going to create some custom business clusters for your region here. So this could be logistics, this could be medical, this could be biotech, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, whatever you want to call it. We have some clients like, I want a satellite sector. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know how to do that. But we figured out via the NAICS codes what businesses support that industry there. And actually, believe it or not, there are some almost specifically related to satellite and defense industries there. But you create custom business clusters here. And then guess what? Not only do they show up in your ZoomProspector, but you're able to embed them on your website. I'm asking you 3 minutes and 47 seconds to learn to create those clusters. Once you do, you'll love it and wondered why you hadn't done it before, or maybe even update yours. And embedding those is easier than making yourself a snack. I got 90 seconds for you here on this video. So with these, you'll be able to really beef up your website. With my help on a quick call or Jeff's, we're happy to go through this and show places where you can do things. Another one with your ZoomProspector is if you're looking at anything and you see this share button, like let's say this drive time here, I want to put this on my website. You can grab this share link and in some text on your website, you could talk about commuting from this particular business park and look at this property as example. Well, you could then link to your ZoomProspector from that as well. So you can embed your ZoomProspector, the whole ball of wax we're seeing here. You could look at those intelligence components, but also you can use these share links as well. And again, in the help section or help center, we have some articles dedicated towards this. Elisa, I know you have a couple examples you want to show on this, so I'll let you steal the screen there.
Perfect.
But happy to take questions as well in the comments box.
All right, so let me just bring us back over to, sorry, I'm just gonna pull it back to the website. There we go. That's what I wanted to show you all. Okay, so one of the things that I like to think about when it comes to ZoomProspector is to think about using your tool as a source of content that you can use across your website. So this is, I use a gardening metaphor. Maybe it's harvest season, that's what's in my head. I like to think of seeding this content across your website. Think first of your target audiences, probably site selectors, prospective investors, or top up there. Maybe existing businesses who could benefit from the amazing consumer spending and business data on there. Maybe there's another kind of target audience. Maybe community stakeholders or elected officials, folks in the area who could benefit from the fantastic and robust data about the community. All of those people are going to be interested in ZoomProspector, but if you only call it a sites and buildings database on your website, most of those people are not going to click on it, only the folks who are looking for sites and buildings. So I like to think of using it in different ways. I've got a great example here from Huntsville. This is, I went to the community tab, so I've removed properties here, and I opened up the business report here. So this is basically a map of all of the businesses in the region. I could zoom in, could click on those businesses. In fact, I could even filter them if I just want to show only the lawyers or only the restaurants in town. That would be easy to do over here with the toggle. But I'm going to leave it the way it is for the moment. And one of the things that you could do then is go to the share button. This share button is a marketing superpower. Grab that share button, and then you can put that somewhere on your website that says, you know, business intelligence, business data, business intelligence portal, whatever you want to call it. You could do that with consumer expenditures. You could even just start with the community itself. But this share link right here, this is going to bring people who click on it back to this interactive map of all of the businesses in the area. That's fantastic data. And in fact, if you just had this linked on your website as sites and buildings, many people who could benefit from this would never know that they can actually find that in ZoomProspector. So when I talk about seeding links across your website, I mean, let's go across your website and let's think of the things that different target audiences, different community stakeholders could benefit from. We have our intelligence components, those standalone tools. So you could put those on any page in your website, but you might also think about ways in which you can use the share link, grab that hyperlink and put that as a hyperlink on a statement, you know, learn more about the city of Huntsville. Another fantastic one that I like to show is the compare communities. This is from Four Corners, Farmington, New Mexico. They do a really interesting job here. So compare communities is up here on the top of all of your Zoom prospectors. And that's already there. So people click on it, they will come to a board and they can go, I'll show you what it'll look like. It's going to bring them to this possibility to begin comparing communities. You have to start with a location in your area, but then you can add as many different locations across the country as you want, literally as many. I mean, you can go more than 20. I think it's a little bit crowded, so I like going, you know, for under 10. But one of the things that Four Corners Economic Development did that I thought was really creative is that they pre-built a report. They said, okay, so we know that people tend to compare us with these other 5 communities. That is very common. So they pre-built this report. It's still fully interactive. People could remove or add different communities if they want to. Then they went, and of course, you know, you can compare across all these different categories and all the variables on the left. I can scroll and see them all one at a time against Farmington. They went to share and they grabbed that hyperlink and then they put that hyperlink on their website as a pre-built report. That's really smart. That is seeding content that you can imagine people might be looking for. I'll give you another example here. This is the state of Michigan. They're using our microsite here, our microsite portal. And you'll see that one of the things they did here that I also think is super clever is they decided there are 4 rough classes of properties that are really important to them, or they know that are going to be important to investors. Every one of these buttons is going to bring you to ZoomProspector. What they did was they built filtered searches. It's going to take a moment because there's a lot of properties, as it turns out, in the state of Michigan. And of course, I'm running this with GoToWebinar. But this is always going to bring to the most up-to-date filtered search of properties that fall in opportunity zones. And that's going to be the case. If you go back to that first page, you can go energy ready ones or redevelopment ready, whatever and you can make up as many filtered searches as you want. You can choose a property asset over here. They've added a whole bunch. Some you can add, of course, as Jeff was showing you, we can add these kinds of things as well for you. And all you then need to do is click search at the bottom, as you see, and you'll be able to then grab that with the share link, grab that over there, and then you can put that on your website as well. So if you know in your area that you have classes of properties that are the kinds of things investors might be looking for, maybe they're featured sites, maybe they're certified sites, maybe they're opportunity zone sites, you can build that in and grab that share link and think as all the different ways you could do that to direct people to your website. I think that is really a valuable thing to look at. Best practices, just another thing that we like to bring back to people. So I'm going to stop talking here. If anyone wants to explore this with me in your context, that is part of my job here. I'm very happy to set up an online meeting with you. You will have my coordinates in the follow-up email from this webinar. Let's sit down and take a look at the strategic link placement for your tools on your website. We really want to make sure that you're getting maximum value for them and that you're directing as many people there as possible. Now, once again, I invite you to put any questions that you might have in the questions field of the GoToWebinar control panel. I do have an interesting comment from Sarah here, which is feedback, not so much a question, but feedback about the county button. And I assume that was the filter by county button that we were showing on the proposals. And she says that she actually doesn't know that she wants that. That is something that she feels might already be in there. And if they choose not to have it, Jeff and Chris, talk to me about this. If someone decides that that's not something they want on their screen.
Yeah, so this is brand new, so I don't know the answer to that, but I have a feeling Pavel can make it so it maybe is hidden there. So I've already sent the feedback to him, and we love to hear this feedback. So Sarah, you and I can talk a little bit about what options there in the future, but oftentimes we can try to hide some of these features that we have. We do want a consistent product that's really easy to use across all our clients, but there's often customizations that can be made here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. And yes, we do love this feedback. We welcome it. So please feel free to send that to us. Of course, you'll have our contact information. If we have any other questions here about the custom boundaries, about using drive time, about ZoomTour, about adding ArcGIS or ESRI layers, then you always know how to reach out to us. I'm going to put our coordinates back up here on the screen. Let's go back over to here so that you can reach out to us at any time. You know that you can reach me at asklar@gisplanning.com. And of course, Jeff and Chris both get emails that go to support@gisplanning.com. We love to hear from you. So if you've got feedback or questions, or you would like to review how you are making use of the tools on your site, that is what we are here for, and we very much welcome. Even just saying hello, that's fine too. Jeff or Chris, is there anything you guys want to add here?
No, I mean, again, just like you said, I know this was a lot to ingest, and if you need any help, do not hesitate reaching out to us. We're more than happy to assist.
Excellent, great. Well, I think that brings us to the end here. Jeff, Chris, always a pleasure co-presenting with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. We love a big crowd like we had.
Yes, thank you all very much for taking time out of your busy days, and thank you for the work you're doing for your communities. We look forward to connecting after the webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye now.